So in this video, I'm going to walk you through getting started on Lab 0, both how to get it, how to do it, and then how to turn it in. So first thing off, I assume that you're familiar with Canvas. Go to the Assignments tab, and this is going to look a little different for me than for you, but go click on Lab 0 Practice Hand-In. And what you'll see here, a couple different things. You've got instructions here. So the very first thing to do is download the assignment instructions. So you're going to want to read that before you continue. Then download the Lab 1 Word Problem doc. Every lab has a Word document, and in that Word document you will find both instructions, and that's also what you're going to hand in. So you cut and paste your stuff into that Word document, and then hand the Word document in as a PDF along with your scripts. And the other thing to do is to download lab1 gettingstarted.m. So now I want you to pause, go download those materials, and then set up your directories as outlined, and then come back to this video. Alright, so if you've read the instructions, then you know that you want to create an ENGR112 folder somewhere in a directory, presumably where you keep your course material. I highly recommend putting this in either a Dropbox folder or a Google Drive folder, something that you can get to from anywhere, so that if you're working in the labs, you can work in the labs and then go home and work on it without having to do any fancy ways to get files back and forth. So anyway, it should be structured something like this. ENGR112, got your homework directory and your labs directory, and here's Lab 0. I put the assignment instructions in here just so I have them, and here's the Word doc that we downloaded from Canvas and the MATLAB file. So if we open up that Word doc, you'll see here name, people you work with, lab time. If you're eCampus, then that should be eCampus. Any websites you use. So as you are doing this, you may obviously put your name right off, but as you are doing this, if you work with any people or use any websites, plunk them in here so that we have a record of them. So a general note about this, the labs, you should read the ZY Books chapters and the lectures before you get to lab and do the participation exercises. Then the first part of lab is going to be a set of challenge exercises. So if you go down here, you aren't going to do all of the challenge exercises. The ones that are not listed here are extra credit, but you should do all of these before you start doing the open-ended part of the lab. And you'll see here some of these are labeled as optional. You can go back and do these as extra credit at any time, even at the end of the quarter. All right, so the other thing that's in here is learning objectives. So this is what we expect you to be able to do. So at the end of the lab, you should be able to answer these questions. So when you finish the lab, come back and look at these questions. And if any of these you can't answer, then go see a TA or ask your friends. I always put in what the new MATLAB commands are. So these are commands that you're going to need for the lab. That way you have them here, nice and convenient. All right, so then you do the challenge exercises. Then you come down here, and every single one of these has a, this is something that you should do before you get started. Then this is the problem itself. And in this case, all that we're going to do is look at the MATLAB environment. But if you come down here, it's a question, you write a script, this is what you turn in. So you turn in a script, you turn in a second script, you copy the command window output, you answer the questions. So I will walk through this at the end of this video about how to do a hand-in. Okay, and then after the actual assignment is general guidelines. This is step-by-step instructions that are designed to walk you through the lab. All right, so next we're going to go look at the MATLAB environment itself. So this is MATLAB. If you are having trouble installing MATLAB, then I recommend talking to the help desk in Dearborn. They can work through some of the major problems that we've seen in the past. All right, so once you start up MATLAB, this is what you're going to see. This is the current folder that MATLAB is working in, and you'll notice that I'm in the same directory that I was in before, Lab 0, and my script shows up over here. So MATLAB will only run scripts that are in this current directory. So if when we go to start something, it'll ask you to change into that directory if you aren't there already. All right, so this is the command window. Think of this as scratch paste. I can do things like create variables. A is equal to 3. You notice that made a variable A. So this is tells me what variables I've made and what values they are, and that I have a value 3. I can do things with them. So I can ask, what is a plus 3? And it'll output the answer here. I can do things like make more variables. Notice what happens if I do this. I put the semicolon on, you'll notice that I don't get any output here. So this command window, think of this as just Scratchbase. It's a place to type commands, but you don't normally create scripts in here. It's just kind of Scratchbase. Over here you have a workspace. You can also look here, there's a window called the command history window, and it's a list of the commands that you've done before, so you can redo them again by clicking on them. You can also get back to old commands by doing the up arrow on your keyboard. We'll walk back through your commands. All right, and there's some special ones, like if I type clear, and I look at my workspace, clear will get rid of all of the variables. Some other special commands, CLC, clears the window for you. All right, so most of the time, like I said, this is just Scratchbase. Most of the time you're going to be working in what is called the editor. So this lets you edit and create scripts that lets you save out commands as you do them. So this very first script here, see all this stuff in green? This stuff is basically comments. So MATLAB will ignore anything after a %sign. So this stuff is not for MATLAB, it's for you, so that you can understand what's going on. So some basics of scripting, we've seen this already. You can create a variable, then you assign it the value 10, or we can create a variable here and assign it the value 22. So what's the difference between these two? I am going to, for the moment, I'm just going to copy and paste these over into the command window, and then I'll show you how to run the script. So if we do y equals 10, you get y equals 10 echoed back to you. If you do ti equals 22 with a semicolon afterwards, you'll notice it doesn't echo it back to you. Either case, it made those variables. So what happens if you want to display or see a variable afterwards and you've left the semicolon on? Well, you can go look in the this window, or you can also do this. So if I do display y, it'll show you the value of 10. If you want to print something out nicely, so say we wanted to print out the atomic value, you actually want a sentence that says the atomic value of titanium is this. So this fprintf is a command you're going to be very familiar with that says print stuff out to the window. It's got a string. This tick mark says, these two tick marks, and the fact that this is in purple means this is a string. And it says, this is going to print this out, but you'll notice this funny stuff here and this funny stuff here. Well, what this funny stuff is this tells MATLAB that you want to run over here and take whatever value is in here and print it out right here. This \n says do a carriage return or start a new line. So if I cut and paste this one over to here, you'll see that it printed out the atomic number of titanium is, but didn't print out %0.0f. Instead, it printed out the value that was in ty. Then this \n said it make a new line. So if I don't do that, then you'll see how the cursor ended up at the end. We got no return. So if I put two of them in, we get 2 returns. All right, so here's that's the basics of what you're going to need to start Lab 0 or start Lab 1. So one other piece of information you need to know is that it gets really tiresome cutting and pasting text from here into the other window. So if you want to run this script, then what you do is you go up here and you click the Run button. And if you go over here, back to your editor, you'll see that it ran Lab 1 getting started, and it printed out the answer here. You can also do the same thing by typing Lab 1 getting started, and that'll start your script. So the whole point of the script is that you can then run from here. Now sometimes you'll get errors. So if, for example, I change this to answer 2, so there is no variable named answer 2, I click Run, and you hear there's a beep. So I go back over here, and it tried to run this script, and it gave me an error. Errors always show up in red. Undefined function or variable answer W2. Error in Lab 1 getting started, line 36, line 26. Now sometimes these are pretty cryptic, but you can always click on this, and it'll take you back to the line that was the error. You can then fix it and then run it again. At this point, what I'm going to do is tell you how to turn in Lab 0. So assuming that you've downloaded the scripts and you are ready to turn in, remember Lab 0 is just a dummy hand and it's just making sure that you can turn in stuff correctly. So I'll go over that next. Okay, so to hand in, first go back to your Word document and scroll down until you see answer script here. So this is step-by-step instructions. And do this down here. So, first thing to do is to cut and paste your script. So to do this, you go over to MATLAB, go to the editor window, Command A, select it all, Command C, select. So when you come back to Word, you can then paste it in. So there's your script pasted in. If it says you should do the command window output as well, that means go to the command window output. Again, select, cut and paste. And it might also be that you're supposed to answer question 1 here. So just follow the instructions about what you're supposed to cut and paste, put it all in here. Later there'll be images and additional functional scripts and so on. Then what you're going to want to do is do a file save as from your Word document, and what you want to do is pick, it's not going to show up here, but you're going to pick PDF and just do a save as PDF. The reason we do a save as a PDF is because the way Canvas works, it needs a PDF in order for us to be able to edit and comment on your document. So that's why we ask you to save it as a PDF. Now go to the directory. So you should see, here's your PDF that just showed up here. Same name as your Word document. The next thing to do is create a zip file of your MATLAB files. So Shift Select, click and then hit Shift Select to select all of your .m files. And this is going to vary a little bit depending on what operating system you're on. But what you're looking for is compress or zip, those two items, to make a zip file. Now I would rename this, so ENGR 112 Lab 0, so that you remember what it is. Then go to, all right, so then you're going to want to go to Canvas and go click on your Lab 0, and you should see down at the bottom a submit button, and in that submit button you're going to have 2 slots. One of them is for the PDF and one of them is for the zip file. So upload those and then you're done. So this is just the Lab 0 practice hand-in. All you need to do is hand in the script as it is and the Word document saved as a PDF. Then you should go and finish Lab 1 and then hand in Lab 1.